Hey everyone, and welcome back to English as a Second Language. I'm David, and I'm absolutely thrilled that you've decided to spend some time with me today. You know, there's nothing I love more than helping you build the confidence you need to succeed with your English, especially when it comes to those big goals you're working toward. Today, we're diving into our IELTS series, and I have to tell you, this is one of those topics that comes up again and again in the IELTS speaking test. We're going to explore how to express opinions about work-life balance. And trust me, this isn't just about passing your test. This is about learning to talk confidently about one of the most important topics in modern life. Now, before we get started, I want you to know that my good friend Tom is going to join us at the end of today's episode. He's going to walk you through some really useful vocabulary in his own natural way, the kind of words and phrases that will make your IELTS responses sound more sophisticated and natural. So make sure you stick around for that. But first, let me ask you something. Have you ever been in an IELTS speaking test, or maybe just in a conversation with someone, where they asked you about work-life balance, and you found yourself saying something like, I think, work is important, but also life is important too? Yeah, I've been there. We all have. It's one of those topics that seems simple on the surface, but when you're put on the spot, suddenly your mind goes blank, and you're struggling to express what you actually think and feel. Well, today, I'm going to change that for you. By the time we're done here, you're going to have the tools, the vocabulary, and the confidence to express nuanced, thoughtful opinions about work-life balance that will impress any IELTS examiner, and more importantly, help you communicate effectively in real-life situations. Let me tell you about my student, Maria. She came to me a few months ago, completely frustrated with her IELTS speaking practice. She said, David, every time someone asks me about work or life balance, I feel like I'm saying the same basic things over and over. I have complex thoughts about this topic, but I can't express them in English. Maria's problem wasn't that she didn't have opinions. She had plenty of them. Her challenge was that she didn't know how to structure her thoughts and didn't have the right vocabulary to express the subtleties of what she really wanted to say. 3 months later, Maria took her IELTS test and scored a 7.5 in speaking. What changed? She learned how to express her opinions with sophistication and clarity. And that's exactly what I want to help you do today. So let's start with the foundation. When the IELTS examiner asks you about work-life balance, they're not just looking for your opinion. They want to see how well you can organize your thoughts, support your ideas with examples, and use a range of vocabulary and grammatical structures. The key is to think of your response as a mini presentation. You want to state your opinion clearly, explain your reasoning, provide specific examples, and maybe even acknowledge different perspectives. This shows the examiner that you can think critically and communicate complex ideas. Let's look at a typical IELTS question. Some people believe that achieving a perfect work-life balance is impossible in today's world. What's your opinion? Now, a basic response might sound like this. I think work-life balance is important. People need to work, but they also need time for family and hobbies. It's difficult to balance both, but I think it's possible if you manage your time well. That's not wrong, but it's quite simple. Let me show you how we can make this much more sophisticated and interesting. First, let's talk about how to express opinions with more variety. Instead of always saying, I think, you can use phrases like, in my view, from my perspective, I'm convinced that, or it seems to me that. These phrases immediately make you sound more articulate and confident. You can also show different levels of certainty. If you're very sure about something, you might say, I firmly believe, or I'm absolutely certain. If you're less sure, you could say, I tend to think, or it appears to me that. Let me give you an example of how this works. Instead of saying, I think work-life balance is important, you could say, I'm firmly convinced that maintaining a healthy work-life balance is crucial for both personal well-being and professional success. See how much more sophisticated that sounds? You're expressing the same basic idea, but with more precision and confidence. Now let's talk about developing your ideas. The IELTS examiners want to see that you can expand on your opinions, not just state them. One effective way to do this is to use the because example catalyst structure. Here's what I mean. After you state your opinion, explain why you hold that view because, give a specific example, and then explain the result or consequence. Let me show you this in action. I believe that achieving perfect work-life balance is challenging, but not impossible. This is because modern technology, while making us more connected, also gives us greater flexibility in how and where we work. For instance, many of my friends who work remotely have found that they can attend their children's school events during the day and then catch up on work in the evening. As a result, they report feeling more fulfilled in both their professional and personal lives. Notice how this response flows logically from opinion to reasoning to example to result. This kind of structure shows the examiner that you can organize your thoughts clearly and support your ideas with concrete evidence. Another important aspect of expressing sophisticated opinions is acknowledging complexity. Real-world issues like work-life balance aren't black and white, and acknowledging this shows maturity in your thinking. You can do this by using phrases like, on one hand, on the other hand. While it's true that, it's also important to consider. Or, although I generally believe, I recognize that. For example, while I generally believe that achieving work-life balance is possible, I recognize that it's much more challenging for certain professions. Single parents working multiple jobs, for instance, face constraints that make balance extremely difficult to achieve. This kind of nuanced thinking is exactly what IELTS examiners are looking for in higher band scores. Let's also talk about using personal experiences effectively. The IELTS speaking test encourages you to draw from your own life, but you want to do this in a way that supports your argument rather than just telling stories. A weak approach might be, my father works a lot. He comes home late every day. This is bad for work-life balance. A stronger approach would be, I've witnessed firsthand how poor work-life balance can affect relationships. My father, who worked long hours throughout my childhood, often missed important family events. While his dedication provided financial security, it came at the cost of emotional connection with his family. This experience has convinced me that success shouldn't be measured solely by professional achievements. The second example uses personal experience to support a broader argument about work-life balance, showing the examiner that you can connect personal examples to larger themes. Now let's discuss some specific areas related to work-life balance that commonly appear in IELTS speaking tests. You should be prepared to express opinions about flexible working arrangements, the role of technology, cultural differences in work attitudes, and the impact on family relationships. When discussing flexible working arrangements, you might express an opinion like, I'm strongly in favor of flexible working arrangements because they acknowledge that people have different peak productivity times and personal commitments. However, I also recognize that not all jobs can accommodate such flexibility, particularly those requiring direct customer interaction or teamwork. For technology's role, you could say technology presents a double-edged sword when it comes to work-life balance. While it enables remote work and flexible schedules, it also creates an expectation of constant availability. In my opinion, the key is establishing clear boundaries about when and how we use work technology. When discussing cultural differences, you might note, I find it fascinating how different cultures approach work-life balance. In some societies, long working hours are seen as a sign of dedication and respect, while others prioritize leisure time and family relationships. I believe that as the world becomes more connected, we're seeing a gradual shift toward valuing balance over pure productivity. Remember, the examiner isn't looking for the right answer. They want to see how well you can express and support your views, whatever they might be. Let's also talk about handling questions where you might not have a strong personal opinion. Sometimes you might be asked about work-life balance in contexts you haven't experienced directly. In these cases, you can use phrases like, from what I've observed, based on what I've read, or according to my understanding. For example, although I haven't experienced the pressures of a high-power corporate job myself, from what I have observed among friends and family members, it seems that achieving balance in such environments requires exceptional organizational skills and the ability to set firm boundaries. This shows that you can think beyond your immediate experience while still providing thoughtful commentary. Another strategy is to consider different perspectives within your response. You might say, some people argue that the concept of work-life balance is outdated, preferring instead to think about work-life integration. While I understand this perspective, I personally believe that maintaining some separation between professional and personal time is essential for mental health and relationship quality. This approach demonstrates critical thinking and shows that you're aware of ongoing debates around the topic. As we near the end of our main discussion, I want to emphasize the importance of using a variety of vocabulary and sentence structures. Instead of repeatedly saying important, try using words like crucial, vital, essential, or significant. Instead of always using simple sentences, incorporate some complex structures with clauses and connecting words. For instance, rather than saying, work-life balance is important, it helps people be happy, you could say, maintaining an appropriate work-life balance is crucial because it not only enhances individual well-being, but also contributes to greater productivity and job satisfaction. The key is to sound natural while demonstrating your range of English skills. Practice these structures until they feel comfortable so you can use them confidently in your IELTS test. Before I hand things over to Tom for our vocabulary review, let me ask you a few questions to help you think about how you might apply what we've discussed today. First, when you think about work-life balance in your own life or culture, what specific examples could you use to support your opinions in an IELTS test? Second, how would you explain your view on whether technology helps or hinders work-life balance using the structure techniques we discussed? Third, can you think of a way to acknowledge different perspectives on work-life balance while still maintaining your own clear position? And finally, what personal experiences or observations could you draw upon to make your opinions about this topic more compelling and specific? Think about these questions and remember that practicing your responses out loud is crucial for building the fluency you'll need in your actual test. Now, I'm excited to turn things over to my friend Tom, who's going to walk you through some essential vocabulary that will make your work-life balance discussions much more sophisticated and natural. Tom, take it away. All right, I've got Tom.
Hey there, everyone. It's Tom here, and I'm really excited to dive into some vocabulary that's going to make your discussions about work-life balance so much more natural and sophisticated. You know, when we talk about work-life balance, there's this concept that's absolutely crucial to understand: empathy. Now, empathy means the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. It's like putting yourself in someone else's shoes. For example, if your colleague is struggling to balance work and caring for elderly parents, showing empathy means recognizing how challenging that situation must be and offering support rather than judgment. Let's practice that together. If your colleague is struggling to balance work and caring for elderly parents, showing empathy means recognizing how challenging that situation must be. One more time. If your colleague is struggling to balance work and caring for elderly parents, showing empathy means recognizing how challenging that situation must be. This connects beautifully to another essential word, flexible. When we say someone or something is flexible, we mean they can adapt easily to different circumstances or changes. In the workplace, this might mean being willing to adjust your schedule or work methods. For instance, a flexible employer might allow employees to work from home when their children are sick, understanding that life doesn't always go according to plan. Let's say this together. A flexible employer might allow employees to work from home when their children are sick, understanding that life doesn't always go according to plan. And again, a flexible employer might allow employees to work from home when their children are sick, understanding that life doesn't always go according to plan. Speaking of life not going according to plan, we often face overwhelming situations. Overwhelming means feeling like you have too much to handle, like you're being buried under responsibilities. It's that feeling when everything seems to be happening at once. For example, many working parents find the holiday season overwhelming because they need to manage work deadlines, family gatherings, gift shopping, and children's school events all at the same time. Let's practice. Many working parents find the holiday season overwhelming because they need to manage work deadlines, family gatherings, gift shopping, and children's school events all at the same time. Once more, many working parents find the holiday season overwhelming because they need to manage work deadlines, family gatherings, gift shopping, and children's school events all at the same time. Now, when we're dealing with overwhelming situations, we need to learn to prioritize. Prioritize means to arrange things in order of importance, deciding what needs your attention first. It's about making conscious choices about where to focus your time and energy. For example, a busy professional might prioritize spending quality time with family on weekends, even if it means some work emails will have to wait until Monday. Let's repeat that. A busy professional might prioritize spending quality time with family on weekends, even if it means some work emails will have to wait until Monday. One more time. A busy professional might prioritize spending quality time with family on weekends, even if it means some work emails will have to wait until Monday. And here's a word that's becoming increasingly important in our modern world: boundaries. Boundaries are limits that you set to protect your time, energy, and well-being. They're like invisible lines that help separate different parts of your life. For instance, someone with healthy boundaries might turn off their work phone after 7 p.m. to ensure they have uninterrupted time with their family. Let's practice this together. Someone with healthy boundaries might turn off their work phone after 7 p.m. to ensure they have uninterrupted time with their family. And again, someone with healthy boundaries might turn off their work phone after 7 p.m. to ensure they have uninterrupted time with their family. These words, empathy, flexible, overwhelming, prioritize, and boundaries, they're not just vocabulary for your IELTS test. They're concepts that will help you navigate real conversations about work-life balance with confidence and sophistication.